Hello everybody, my name is V the Victim, and this is a guide for the newest Grandmaster tier quest in old school RuneScape, Dragon Slayer 2. I'm planning to make this a pretty close to real-time guide with just a little bit of fast forward and skips, so if you want to play along with the quest, that as I do it, it should suit you pretty well. If you're here for just a snippet of information, a puzzle solver, or something like that, I'm planning to leave some of the major tidbits from the quest in the description as timestamps, and hopefully you'll find what you're looking for down there if you're just looking to jump to one small thing rather than watch the whole guide. Anyway, go ahead and get started with a couple of requirements. I imagine you all have them since you're here watching this video, but just in case, there are some things in here like 200 quest points, some of the higher tier quests like Legends and Dream Mentor, and quite a few stats in the 60s and 70s with 50 construction and hit points tagged in there just at the bottom. Moving on from that, we're going to get straight into the real meat of the beginning of the guide, which is going to be your item and gear requirements. I like to get this out of the way at the beginning of quests because then when you're in the middle of a quest, you can't forget to buy something, you can't forget to grab something. You've really got an idea of everything you need, and you can pick them out as you need them. I have all of the major items you're going to need in my inventory, except for a couple of exceptions like various teleports that I'll list. So I'm going to pop up this item requirement screen here in the bottom left, and if you want to look at my inventory, I'm going to read these out as well just to make sure that you have time to grab everything you need. To start, you're going to need a pickaxe. Doesn't really matter what kind, I just happen to have dragon. You need a hammer and saw, a spade, dig site pendants or another teleport to the dig site that you'll use to get to Fossil Island, pestle and mortar, 10 swamp paste, not swamp tar. You must get swamp paste or it will not work. 12 nails of any metal, 8 oak planks, light source, glass blowing pipe, 2 molten glass, a cut dragonstone, a cat speak amulet and a ghost speak amulet, runes to cast crumble undead and fire wave, various teleports, good ranged gear. I recommend a serpentine helm. If you wear it throughout the quest, you can't be venomed and you don't need to worry about having anti-venoms, and good melee gear. The ranged gear you'll use for most of the boss fights because it's just very convenient to have something like a rune crossbow, armadillo, dragon hunter crossbow, something like that. I actually wouldn't recommend using a twisted bow because you're going to want to have a dragon fire shield or an anti-dragon shield on pretty much at all times. So that's why I recommend bringing good range gear with a crossbow. I'll go ahead and show you what I've got on right now as well, real quick. I've just got on my full armadillo, anguish. I don't have a max cape. If I did, I would be wearing that. Diamond bolts, dragonfire shield, ring of suffering with barrow's gloves, and again the serpentine helm for the anti-venom properties. You also are going to need, let me pop it back up here. You're also going to need good melee gear because you have to fight a decently strong ranger in a dream. So for that you just kind of want like maybe a tentacle whip. Even a dragon scimitar would probably do pretty well if you have decent stats or if you're a very, very high stat like special build trying to do this account. But really, yeah, just good range, good melee gear. And I'll go into those various teleports now that I mentioned. I don't have them in my inventory, but to start, you can put in your rune pouch a teleport to Lunar Isle and be on Lunars for the beginning of the quest because you will need a couple of teleports to Lunar Isle, and then you can switch to regular later when you need Firewave and Crumble Undead. For other teleports, you could bring things like Karamjaw Gloves 3 or 4. You're going to need to go to the Khazari jungle, so teleporting to Shiloh Village with those is very useful. Fremnik Sea Boots 4 are good because you're going to need to tele to Rellekka a few times, so might as well have those to save yourself a little time and money. Xeric's Amulet, or Xeric's Talisman rather, with charges to teleport to the Shazian area of Zeah, and a Pharaoh's Scepter to teleport to Sophanem, near Pyramid Plunder to talk to the Sphinx. Again, you don't need any of these, you can have alternate ways to get there, but those are probably the most convenient teleports that you're going to find. Also, you're going to need quite a few teleports of things like glories, a couple of games necklaces, that sort of thing. So if you don't have those in your house, you might want to stock up on some jewelry. Make sure you have those kind of teleports that you'll need. That should be just about it for the item and gear requirements. So the quest is started at the outside of the Myths Guild. That can be reached by either taking a fairy ring to Feldip Hills, teleporting to Castle Wars and running south, taking the Gnome Glider to Feldip Hills, or taking a boat to Corsair's Cove just east of the Myths Guild. So I'll go ahead and head over there now to start the quest, and I will see you there. My apologies. Restarting. My apologies if I sent you to the wrong place on that last clip. It's only 4 to come to Feldip Hills if you are at the Grand Exchange. So in my house, I actually pressed 4 and went to the wrong location. But anyway, moving on. Down here at the Myths Guild, outside, you will see Alec Kincaid. And you'll talk to him to begin the quest, which I have already done. Once you've done that and gone through the dialogue, you'll know that he tells you need to find Dallas Jones at Musa Point. So here, I'm going to pop a house tab and run to Karamja to meet him. Dallas Jones can be found in the house just south of the banana plantation. So once you go through dialogue, you find out that you need to meet him underneath Crandor, where you originally slayed Elvarg the dragon. I'm going to go ahead and teleport and recharge my energy, just because I can, and it's a little bit closer, I think, to go back to Karamja. But otherwise, you can just run west and go down the cave towards the Zar area and take the path that leads you to Elvarg. Upon arrival at Elvarg, we enter an instance area with our friend Dallas Jones. So you can go through the dialogue, and he'll tell you to look around for some sort of anomaly. As you can see, this area of the wall just to the northeast is a little bit strange looking, and it tells you maybe you can mine through it. So if you equip your pickaxe, the investigate changes to mine, and you can go ahead and mine straight through. Crawl through the tunnel that results, and you'll see that you're in some sort of laboratory. I would actually recommend that you do read through this lore. I followed it as I researched making this guide, but they did a really good job with some of this, and it's got a really cool backstory with the Dragonkin. But of course, if you're not interested, you know, we can speed through the quest as quick as you like. Anyway, after the quick conversation about Dragonkin, search the ancient machinery for some old notes, which you can just click on real quick, and investigate the ancient mural in the center of the room. You'll be attacked by this weird looking spawn, which you can just go ahead and kill. The Dragon Hunter crossbow with diamond bolts dispatches it no problem, and once it is dead, you'll be able to reinspect the mural. Wait for it. There you go. And it talks about Lithkren, which is an old location that was used in the quest A Tale of Two Cats. Or seen, at least, in the quest. So here you go. It tells you need to go to Fossil Island. Now, in this case, if you have a dig site pendant, you can actually teleport straight to that new location on Fossil Island. Otherwise, just head to the dig site and take the barge. I'm going to go ahead and skip over to when I arrive at Fossil Island to save just a bit of time. Here at Fossil Island, if you open the map, you'll see there's suddenly an offshoot here up in the northeast that was not previously useful for anything. So if you've gone and taken the boat or the barge, you'll just run around and get up there. Otherwise, you'll teleport straight in there. So either way, I'll meet you when you are inside that little castle area. When you arrive inside the castle, you'll be greeted by our familiar friend, Mr. Dallas Jones. If you ask him about the map through some dialogue, he'll tell you that this weird thing on the floor is an incomplete map, which you can see just by clicking on. And you need to find 24 map pieces to complete the map. I've already done this, but I'll show you the various 5 locations that you need to search to find the map pieces. And again, this is why I recommended to bring some extra inventory space. You can do this in 2 trips rather than in 3, 4, or more if you had a lot of potions in your inventory. Anyway, once he tells you you need to find the map pieces, you can find them in 5 locations around the castle. There's this stone chest in the same room as you are in right now, just to the north side. There's another stone chest in the northeast corner of the 2nd floor, right here. Then the remaining 3 sets of pieces are outside. You can go straight down this stairwell to find one in the fungi, just north of it. And then once you get those, let's go back and turn them into them. Or turn the pieces into Dallas, rather. So you can give him all your pieces, just talk to him, go through a little bit of dialogue, and he'll hold them for you. Then we need to find the remaining 2 sets of pieces. Those can be found in the area just south of the castle here, in this hookbriar. So there's a large hookbriar right here. If you haven't found the pieces yet, it will have a search option. You can search it to find several pieces. And then if you run northeast, you'll see a giant mush tree all the way on the other side here. And this big mush tree here, if you search it, you'll be rewarded with the last of the 24 pieces that you need to complete the puzzle. So if you go back inside, Dallas will give you an option once you've given him all the pieces to say, let's see about finishing this puzzle. And you can say, let's do it, or something along those lines. That'll open up a large puzzle overlay where you get one set piece of a map that you can't move, which is this central landmass piece right here that if you right click it only says check rather than rotate. The rest of the pieces can be dragged around and swapped with each other and rotated right and left to get a map to the location you want to go. I'm going to go ahead and overlay the almost completed map that you'll want, and you should be able to copy it through moving in rotation, and I'll kind of give you a little speed run through it on my own as well, so if you need an example, that should hopefully help. On the right side of the screen here, I've popped up the almost finished map. You can see I've actually got this piece in the top left in the correct position, but the rest of them, only this one is in the correct position, and everything else needs to be moved and rotated to match this map that we're going to be looking for. So again, just kind of, you can start with the landmass. That should make it the easiest for you. I'm doing this along with you too for the first time, so it might take me a couple seconds. Hopefully you all can work along with me, and I'll probably speed this up a little bit, just so if you do skip through it with yours because it doesn't look the same, you'll be saving some time. But basically your goal is start with the landmass and get that worked out in the proper location, and once you've done that, you can kind of work on setting up the various parts of the remainder of the map to get everything where you need it to be. It's definitely easiest to pick the bigger pieces of things, like the bigger islands and that sort of thing. So when you're accomplishing the puzzle, you can get the easy parts done first and then kind of work out the smaller, simpler kinks afterwards. So here you go. You can see the island just kind of taking shape, and it's relatively easy to just look through and figure out the little sections that you have remaining. And once you get them, you know, it becomes obvious what they should have looked like if you didn't have them in the first place. But all these color-coded kind of grayish brown things belong to the island. So you can fix that, and then you've got a nice portion of the overall picture complete. Following that, you want to start chunking out the bigger islands, and they're also kind of color-coded. Certain colors go with certain parts of the map. So we can see like the southeast, the southeast corner of the map here in the bottom right is kind of the green area. So you can take the parts like this pointy thing that are a little easier to distinguish and get those right first. And then based on that, you can sort of find where the rest of the map seems to be falling into place. And we know again that the parts that touch the center island that we've got finished are correct. So this square here and this square here are the ones we can kind of build around to get our puzzle done a little more effectively. And once, again, one or two pieces fall into place like this one, the rest of the puzzle just gets even easier. Also, you can left click rather than right click then left click to rotate the pieces. I've just been doing that to illustrate how the puzzle works. So here we've got the little green section done. I'd recommend moving on to the red section in the south next, in the bottom left in the center, because again you've got some kind of weird shaped islands and they're touching the main island, which gives you a little bit of an advantage here. So you want to try to find everything that's about the same color as that and get them fit into the area they need to be in down in this corner. There we go. So there you have it. We've got the south 2 sections done. And looking at it, we've actually got the south 3 rows done. So now, again, just move on to another color. I would do the blue because it's very easy to see, and we can just get those knocked out pretty quickly. So again, just find the pieces that fit in well with the ones you know are correct, aka the ones that attach to the island. And from there, just kind of fit the other ones that seem a little easier in together. Alright, we got that done. That was nice and easy. Now I'm just going to work my way across to finish the remainder of the puzzle. So there's this big brownish island up north that's really easy to do because it's got so many obvious features. That one we can just knock out nice and easy here. There we go. And now we've just got a couple squares left. So we want to rotate this guy around here. Looks like this guy right here. And all we've got left is a little pointy guy to finish off the island. And looks just like the guide I have here on the right. Now, the only piece that's not correct is this top left piece. So if you've got it exactly the same as the picture I have on the right, rotate the top piece until he tells you he does believe you did it. It'll close automatically, and you'll ask which island is Lithkren. He'll tell you that you're going to need some help from a dwarf on the island to build a boat and get to Lithkren. So again, if you teleport back to Fossil Island or take the barge back there, then you'll see a dwarf just northwest of the bank. You can find him and he will tell you need to build the boat. So here we are back on the island, and you'll see right next to the rowboat you arrive in, there is a dwarf named Jardrick. So you talk to him, and he'll basically tell you that he can help you get to Lithkren. He tells you need the supplies to make the boat, which will be those 8 oak planks, 10 swamp paste, 12 nails, a hammer, and a saw. So once we've grabbed the items we need, we can go ahead and travel back towards the northwest side of the island. Here at this transportation arrow is our destination, where we'll find our friend the dwarf with a little hotspot to build the boat. So it's going to be just a little rowboat, and it requires the simple supplies we've got here. So you can see you just run up towards that arrow, and there is Dallas as well as Jardrick. So you can build the rowboat here, get rid of all your supplies here. It'll take a little bit of time. The nails go one by one. Excuse me. There you go. Once that's built, say that's the boat all finished. Not a bad boat either. Just say you're ready to go to Dallas, and you will travel to the mysterious Lithkren. Dallas heads off. He says he's going to go explore and see what he can find, leaving you and Jardrick hanging out by the boat. So anyway, you have to go look around. You want to start traveling around the island. You can see this tiny island that is northwest of Fossil Island. And as you go in, you'll see this big burnt out broken castle, which happens to be the same castle that was used during the Tale of Two Cats quest, learning about Robert the Strong and his mysterious past. So once you go inside, you can climb up the giant stairs to the castle, and from there, just go south into this trapdoor, and climb down the staircase just to your north. You'll get into a long hallway with a symbol here that we'll see later in the quest. And down this staircase we see, again, Mr. Dallas Jones. Talk to him, some big doors, and there you go, we see those dragon markings on the grandiose doors. There we go. So here you can see that we're supposed to investigate the dungeon to see if we can figure out how the doors should open. If you search the skeleton here, you'll see Avis's diary. Now Avis is another old-timey hero, just like Mr. Robert the Strong, aka Bob the Cat. And if you read the diary, you can go back and talk to Dallas Jones and tell him about Robert the Strong, who was actually involved in this battle, like we remember from the Tale of Two Cats quest. Then you get a little bit of funny dialogue about where you tell him that Bob the Cat is Robert the Strong, and you can mention that you're going to get your cat speak amulet and talk to Bob for him. So here, you're going to have to track down Bob the Cat. If you don't have the cat speak amulet E, hopefully you can find someone who just tell you the location of Bob. Otherwise, you'll have to use your cat speak amulet E. You can open it and chase him around the game using the directional arrows to find him. I'm going to just go ahead and jump forward to when we found Bob, and we'll go from there. You're going to want to make sure for this next bit, if you're on your lunars like I am, that you bring a teleport to Lunar Isle, because the next step of the quest will require you to be on Lunar Isle once you've found Bob the Cat and talked to him. So from here, you're going to need to track down Bob the Cat. You can either do this with someone else's help, because a lot of people may be doing the quest if you do this soon, and it shouldn't be too hard to figure out a world and location for Bob the Cat. Otherwise, you can use your cat speak amulet E. You just right click and click open on it, and it will give you a directional arrow to somewhere on the map where Bob the Cat currently is. For this step though, you're going to need your cat speak amulet, so make sure you bring that with you. You're going to need teleportation or transport to Sophanem. I'd recommend a Pharaoh's Scepter if you have one of those, because you can teleport straight into Pyramid Plunder, which is right next to the Sphinx. And you're also going to need that Lunar Isle teleport that I mentioned earlier. So be sure to bring those three things on this next step. But first, we got to go find Bob the Cat, so I will do that, and I will see you then. So once you finally track down Bob, you talk to him, and you basically just ask him for his help. He doesn't mention that he has any memories of Robert the Strong, but you need to remember them, so maybe you should go to see the Sphinx in Sophanem to get it all worked out. This is why we brought our Pharaoh's Scepter. You can just left-click it if you're trying to go to Sophanem. Otherwise, you'll have to go to Narda or Palnovniach and then come down. But basically, your goal is to reach the Sphinx, where Bob is waiting for you. So we get out here, and the Sphinx is just to the south of the Pyramid Plunder Pyramid. And here we see Bob already there. So you talk to the Sphinx and ask for help with Bob's memories. After running through some dialogue, you now find out that you no longer need a cat speak amulet to talk to cats, which is the power the Sphinx has imparted on you. Basically, the Sphinx says he can't help you with hypnotizing Bob, like before, So you actually need to go see the Oneiromancer on Lunar Isle. This is why we're on Lunar Spellbook. You can teleport straight to Moon Clan, and you need to go down and see the Oneiromancer at the Astral Altar. Now, also at this point, you want to be able to grab a teleport to Trollheim if you can, because we need to get our hands on some Goutweed if you didn't already grow it with a Gout tuber. So for me, I'm going to get a redirection scroll for my house tab and send myself to Trollheim. Not yet, of course. We're going to go talk to the Oneiromancer first. So you have your Trollheim teleport or your Max Cape or whatever to get to Trollheim, and you're going to go see the Oneiromancer. So here we can see that Bob is already with the Oneiromancer, so we can go ahead and talk to her and mention Bob's memories. Basically, she can also speak to cats, just need a little bit of magic. And we're going to need a Potion of Shared Dreaming. So you're going to need a Vial, a Ground Astral Rune, and some Goutweed. And you're going to have to fill the Vial with water. So here, we're going to teleport out to Trollheim and go get ourselves some Goutweed. From Trollheim, we need to go west into Troll Stronghold and south to find the storeroom where the Goutweed is kept. So if you guys just follow along, we can make it there. So after going through the Stronghold kitchen, we're here at the storeroom, where your goal is to go around the guards here who are guarding Goutweed. Just got caught there, sorry. You need to get around the guards and get to the far southern end of the room where the Goutweed crates are held. Basically, most of these guards follow some sort of square-based pattern, so you need to stay behind them at all times. And if they don't see you, then you won't be thrown out, and you can get yourself some Goutweed. So basically here, just kind of follow behind a guard whenever possible. You'll be able to eventually find a time where they're not facing you, and you can search the Goutweed crate, get a Goutweed, and you'll automatically be knocked out once you do. So now that we have our Goutweed, we're going to need a Ground Astral Rune and some water. So to get the Ground Astral Rune, you're going to need a hammer and the pestle and mortar. You first have to break an Astral Rune with the hammer, then grind it with the pestle and mortar. And we're going to need to fill our Dream Vial up as well. I'm just in Edgeville. I'm going to do both those things here because it's a decently easy place to do it. Also note that you can't humidify a Dream Vial. You actually have to manually fill it. You can do that here. You can do that back on Lunar Isle. Really, it's a pretty simple process. So just get that done however you want. Break the Astral Rune up with the hammer and then grind it until you have Ground Astral Rune, Goutweed, and fill up your Dream Vial. So you got your full Dream Vial, use the Goutweed on it, and use the Ground Astral Rune to create a Dream Potion. At this point, we're going to be gearing up for a fight, because you have the Dream Potion, and you're going to need to go into Bob's dreams and fight his, basically the same. It's like a version of me that you fought during Lunar Diplomacy, but much stronger and ranged-based, and you cannot use ranged against this version of Bob or Robert the Strong. So you want to get out your melee gear that I said to make sure you had earlier. I'm just going to bring pretty standard, like max melee. Shouldn't have much of a problem with it. I think I'll bring a dragon dagger too. I haven't seen anyone try it yet, but it's usually pretty good DPS, so I think we'll go for it. And then we're also going to just be returning to Lunar Isle. So I'm going to store all my range gear, my pickaxe. If you're still holding any of the books or scrolls from earlier in the quest, you don't need them. You're not going to need the cat speak amulet again, because you can now speak to cats. Basically, just kind of clear out your inventory, because you're going to want to bring plenty of food and potions. Anyway, at this point, we're just going to go ahead and gear up for the fight with Robert the Strong. If you have this good melee gear, you really shouldn't have to worry too much, but just want to bring a couple brews, a super combat, a couple restores. I would also bring a stamina, because you will need to do a little bit of running during the fight. And yeah, just kind of fill your inventory up with some pretty standard like bossing sort of gear. Also, you're going to need a tinderbox to light the brazier, so bring that with you as well. So once you've got your Vial of Shared Dreaming, your tinderbox, you can go ahead and go back to Lunar Isle. Bob will already be waiting for you in the building with the brazier, so you just need to go in there, light it, and toss the potion in, then you should be good to go. Also, in the past, it was true that if you died in the instance of Dream Mentor, you would lose all your items. I believe, based on this item chest, that if you die in this, you will not lose your items, but just in case, it's of course going to be good practice to stay alive. So once you get in here, you can go ahead and light the brazier. You can use the Vial of Shared Dreaming, and you'll go in with Bob. At this point, you get inside, you see Bob and not Bob. Go ahead and just talk to Bob, and you'll get a little bit of dialogue with the two cats back and forth. And at this point, we need to defeat the Guardian to destroy the barrier to his memories. And in this case, the Guardian is this dark figure, Robert the Strong. So you just want to go ahead and pot up. I'm going to go ahead and pre-anglerfish. Basically, Robert the Strong is very simple. Against him, all you need to do is pray ranged and piety. But once in a while, he has an attack where he'll say, "See if you can hide from this." And when that happens, you're going to want to hide behind one of the pillars and make sure his attack hits that, because otherwise it can really hurt. So again, if you're high combat, you should have no problem with him. Just be ready to hide behind the pillar whenever he says, "See if you can hide from this," and I'll go ahead and show you that too. Looks like the DDS is not particularly useful, but oh well. Okay, so see if you can hide from this. At that point, he like shoots an arrow up in the sky. If you hide behind the pillar, it'll get blocked, and then he'll teleport you out and say, "Face me, you coward." But basically, you just want to rinse repeat that little sequence. And yeah, if you've got good gear and good stats, like clearly you just kind of destroy him. He's only level 194, and although he can hit decently hard through prayer, it seems like with full melee gear like this, you don't really have much of a problem. So again, see if you can hide from this. Run behind a pillar, and blocks it. "Face me, you coward." You do have to respond pretty quickly, because the attack is pretty fast after he says, "See if you can hide from this." But as long as you respond within, I don't know, a few ticks, you should be just fine. See if you can hide from this. Turns out that you can indeed hide from it. So you get behind the pillar, he teleports you out, and you fight him again. Should hopefully finish him this cycle real quick, but if not, obviously it hasn't been too much of a drain on supplies, and even if you have lower combat stats, it's definitely going to be doable. So again, you kill him, memory fades, and all of a sudden you see a dragonkin and some great warriors, including Robert the Strong, and you see Bob the cat does start to remember his memories. Also, those 4 warriors there, it's important to note, well, you don't have to because I'll tell you, but basically they use a certain weapon and are from certain places, and this will come into effect later in the quest. So if you do want to like personally just look at the weapons they use, it is going to be relevant later. But here we get a cool cutscene. I'll just go ahead and watch it along with you all. And we get to see the dragonkin who are intent on destroying humanity face these great warriors, as well as Odysseus. Also, they did throw a couple of Game of Thrones references in here, for those of y'all who are a fan of that show. We see Avis goes ahead and dies here, and now when we get a little bit rotated screen view, we can see that this is actually the door we were in earlier, the room we were in earlier with the big door where we were talking to Dallas. So that skeleton we found Avis's diary on was actually Avis, the Great Warrior, in this battle. For those of y'all who might care a little bit about lore. But basically, this dragon key is dropped by the dragonkin, and it opens the door to a great weapon that has the power to wipe out humanity. So the warriors decide to split it up into 4 parts, and hide the parts where the dragonkin should never find them to be able to open the door. And here, this is what Bob is telling you. He also tells you where the warriors are from. But again, I'll let you know later, so you don't need to have those written down or memorized. So here we go. At this point, you see that there are 4 key pieces. Robert hid 2 because he took his and Avis's. Kimura hid 1, and Tristan hid the other. We're just going to go ahead and do these down in order, so it'll be a pretty simple way. At this point, we're going to go ahead and start hunting our key pieces, of which there are 4, and the first one is going to be one found on a snow-covered island northwest of Rellekka. This one is going to be the one guarded by Vorkath, the boss that we can fight after the quest. He's not even the final boss, which shows us that this is definitely going to be a pretty tough quest. But for him, I would recommend using ranged. It's definitely possible to use melee, but that original setup I had with the max ranged gear and the Dragon Hunter crossbow, if you got your hands on that or something similar, then you should be able to use it and have a pretty easy time with Vorkath. So I'm going to re-gear with that real quick. Get out basically standard max gear, bring some diamond bolts, although I'm not sure where I stuck those. Looks like, oh, I'm wearing them, never mind. Get a little brain scatter when you're making a quest guide sometimes, trust me on this one. But basically, yeah, you're going to get your gear back out for your max range setup. This right here should be just fine. And this is when you want to change to the regular spellbook and bring your Crumble Undead runes. Oops, deposited the rune patch. But you want to change to regular spellbook and you want to bring Crumble Undead, which is air, earth, and chaos. So I'm actually just going to bring dust and chaos because I'm lazy and it's a little simpler. So right now I'm going to go change my prayer book back, and then I'll gear up for the Vorkath fight and the ensuing bit afterwards. So now that we're on standard spellbook, you can see that we do indeed have access to Crumble Undead. Basically, Vorkath is a relatively simple fight, although he does have the potential to one-shot you. So you got to be very careful. If you want, you can also try to bring something to lower his defense. I don't currently have a Dragon Warhammer, so I'm just going to kind of half-heartedly bring a Bandos Godsword and see if I even hit with it in Armadil. It's not a big deal, though. You should be able to kill him regardless. But you're going to want to bring a Range Pot, a Stamina. If you don't have a Serp Helm, you're going to want to bring an Anti-Venom, although I don't need one again because I'm bringing a Serp Helm. I'll bring a couple Brews, but not planning to need them, and an extended anti-fire as well for complete Dragonfire protection. The rest I'll just bring Anglerfish. That should be sufficient. No pun intended. And I need to get up to Rellekka. So whichever way you can do that, you can use Sea Boots, you can use Redirection Scroll, doesn't really matter. But basically, just get up there and you need to talk to Brunt the Chieftain. You'll ask him about the island and he will tell you what your next step is. So there you go, you ask about the Dragonkin Fortress, and he asks if he's ever heard of it. There's a dark island with a beast on it, and this beast is Vorkath. Basically, he tells you to go northwest, and a guy named Torfin will take you to the island. So, you head up there, and on this small dock here, you see a guy named Torfin. And you can see some Vorkath killers running in right now, and someone who tried to be a Vorkath killer and may not have succeeded. But yeah, he'll tell you that he can take you there, and you just need to be prepared for something that will spit fire, because it's Vorkath, the giant undead dragon. So here we go. At this point, you can go ahead and climb over the ice spikes. I'd recommend potting before you go in. And get anglerfish as well. Here I'm going to give you a little breakdown before I start of the mechanics of Vorkath. Basically, he has all 3 combat styles, but you can avoid melee by staying out of range, which is one of the reasons I'd recommend to bring ranged attacks, so you don't have to worry about melee. During the fight, there are 2 main mechanics you have to worry about. Firstly, there is a poison splatter attack, where he shoots little poison amounts all over across the battlefield, and you basically need to avoid them, because if you step on them, they will deal damage to you and heal him. At the same time, there's a fire breath attack that attacks the square you are standing on 1 tick behind when you are standing on it. Basically, if you're walking in a line, the attack will never hit you, or running in a line, but if you stand still during the attack to try to avoid the poison, you will take very, very rapid damage and die if you do not move. So you guys can watch me handle that, and basically all you need to do is walk while the attack is active. Other than that, there's an attack where you get frozen in place. It is a little white magic attack, and it gives you the ice barrage effect on your character, and then shortly after that, it will spawn a little undead blue crawler that will run at you. If you don't cast Crumble Undead on it to kill it quickly, by the time it reaches you, it will deal pretty big damage, usually upwards of 50 from what I've seen. So the way to counter that is just whenever you see the freeze attack coming in, you get ready to cast your Crumble Undead on the little blue monster, and it's absolutely no problem to deal with. So we're going to go ahead and climb over the ice chunks, and we're going to enter the crater. I'm going to not show it again because I don't really want it, and we'll see Vorkath starts to wake up. So I made a mistake here. You definitely want to pray Mage, and use Rigor if you have it, and there's also this Fireball attack. See, I actually didn't get far enough away. So basically, that Fireball attack, if it lands directly on you, it again shoots at the previous location you were in, and if you stand still, you will take massive damage, potentially up to your entire health bar. So here we can see this attack that I mentioned, the poison splatters with the fireballs that follow you. If you're constantly moving, the fireballs will never hit you, and you could try to avoid the poison splats a little bit, but even that's not even a huge deal. So here, the attacks go in cycles, basically. That's the venom attack as well, I believe. And the attack you'll see will be a white magic looking attack. Waiting for it. There'll be a little white looking magic attack that will freeze me. Here we go. This freezes me in place, and a little blue guy spawns. If you let the little blue guy reach you, he can deal massive damage to you. So you just Crumble Undead him before he does, and continue the boss fight. Other small mechanics, just Vorkath can disable your prayers with that purple attack. Not a big deal, you just turn them back on afterwards. And really that's about it. He seems to use magic more than ranged, so I'm going to go ahead and switch. You can just use whichever you seem to be having better luck with. I've seen some people using magic, seen some people using ranged. With the rest of the fight, I'll try to judge which is better, and then hopefully we can come to a conclusion before the end. And if you all watch it before your fight, you shouldn't have any problem deciding which is better. So here we go, going to sit here on Magic Prayer. Vorkath already mostly dead. Looks like the ranged attack is pretty easy to tank, so I'd say probably use Magic Prayer if you're watching this before your fight. And just a couple more hits should do it. There we go, and that's Vorkath dead. Actually got the Slayer XP from the Blue Dragon task, but again, it's possible that they will remove the Slayer task as part of a balancing fix, so I wouldn't recommend counting on that in the future if you're doing this more than a week or two after release. Here you'll get through, you'll see a Dragon Bitter. That's just a red herring, there's really no use for it. So once you go through, you want to go north and west, across this bridge, down these stairs to the south, and you'll see a cave. If you go into the cave, all items will be lost in the dungeon forever if you die here, so you got to be very careful. But again, the only threat really is these spiders, and if you have your Serpentine Helm, because these venom, then you don't have to worry about them much at all, which is one of the reasons I recommended bringing it. I think it's very worthwhile. So if you get into this dungeon, you'll see a little lever in the southwest corner. If you pull it, a ticking noise starts, and you have to run over to the far east side quickly to get inside a door that's placed here. There's a stone chest inside, and if you search the chest, you'll be rewarded with your first dragon key piece, as well as an ancient key. So from there, you have everything you need, and you can go ahead and teleport out successfully with your first key piece. Sorry, your first key piece. We're not that close to done yet. But yeah, that's the first of 4 key pieces, so you get out of there. You should hopefully have plenty of supplies after a decently easy fight. And next, we're going to move on to the second key piece. This second key piece is hidden in an ancient temple on the south coast of Karamja. That's going to be down in the Khazari jungle, south of Shiloh village, so we're going to have to go use our Karamja gloves 3 or 4, or some alternate method to get down there and go into the jungle. Also, there's an agility shortcut there that requires 79 agility, which is boostable. to get into the jungle, and if you have that, you don't need to bring an axe and a machete to get into the jungle. If you are below 79 agility and can't boost, or below 74, then you're going to need to bring an axe and machete to cut your way into the Khazari jungle just south of Sheila Village. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you down there. I can't go to Duradel, but if you have that option, go there. It's a little bit faster. What I'm going to be doing for this maze is I'm going to be running it on video, so you guys should be able to follow me, because this maze is the same for everyone, although some things in the quest are different for other people. But what I'm also going to do is I'll be making a map for you guys. So if you want, you should be able to pretty easily follow the map that I'm going to make and watch me do it and have absolutely no problem running this maze. Basically, the goal is to get through to the end, and there's going to be a little plinth that has the last key, or the second key fragment in it. So for those of you trying to use the agility obstacle, it's right over here, this vine. All we have to do is climb up it, and we'll find ourselves down on the other side. If you don't have the agility, again, you got to use your axe and machete to just chop your way into the jungle as usual. So once we're in the jungle, we want to travel to the southeast, and as we go, we'll eventually see a collection of rocks with a cave entrance. Going down those rocks will lead us to the start of the maze, and that is where I'm going to leave you all on voice and take a little break from recording this guide to go through and try to actually map it out for you guys so you can follow along and hopefully be successful. So the cave entrance is here right next to the totem pole that we replaced during the Legends quest. Go down and you'll find yourself at the beginning of this maze. There's a little empty plinth, and as you roll down this hallway here, you'll see the maze start to unfold in front of you. And actually, see, I actually ran across a trap by accident. You can try to disable it with thieving, but again, traps like these will be marked on the map. Alright guys, so here I am at the plinth. I took a very, very, very long time to create the map for this maze, and as a result, I'm not really in good shape to run the maze again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just pop the map up on screen for a little bit, and hopefully you guys can follow it pretty well. You come in from the north side, and the map shows every single relevant path and trap near you. Let me go ahead and put it on screen. So blue is the starting point, and green is the correct path. Each little grid tile that you see is one tile on the map. Orange is the floor trap, which is based on your agility, so you can click on it to cross over it. Red is a wall trap, where if you run past you'll take damage, but if you click on it you can disarm it with thieving, which I would recommend doing. And that's about it. You just follow the green path all the way through, and it should be pretty easy, hopefully, to follow. Sorry if I realized after I made it that the grid is a little tough on the eyes, but you only have to use it one time, so hopefully this is a decent map for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and flip it off, because you guys can pause the video here if you need to, and continue with the quest. So here, we are at the plinth at the end of this maze, and all you have to do, take from, and that's it. Second key piece has been achieved, so you can go ahead and tele out of here, and it does show the map now too, which is handy. So again, like the last key piece, we don't need this one. We can go ahead and bank this one, and that's what I'm going to go do. With that second key piece safely in the bank, we're going to move on to the third piece, which is Comora's. It says she boarded a ship for the lands to the far west, never to be seen again, and took the piece with her. These far western lands, of course, are Zeah, which is why this quest has a Client of Karen quest requirement. And we are going to be speaking to Veos on the docks of Piscarilius' house in Zeah to start this section. Before we do that, though, we're going to get out a couple of other important things that I listed earlier. If you have a Xerix talisman with some teleports, that will be useful here. If you have the fairy ring northeast of Arceus house unlocked, which is code CIS, you want to bring whatever you need to use that, because that's going to be a fast teleport for the second step of this. And you're also just going to need your typical staminas and some food. You're going to be needing a few inventory spaces during this, 4 of them later, but for now you don't need any, and if you're going to use any food along the way, you might want to make sure you have that. So here we go. I'm going to bring also just one super restore for the heck of it. There are a couple of aggressive monsters in the dungeon we're going to run to for this puzzle, but besides that, it's really not much of a threat. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to minigame teleport to pest control and travel off that island straight to Veos pretty much, because it's going to be a lot faster than the original plan I had of using the Explorer's Ring or a Glory to Drainer. This is just a much faster overall method. So I'm going to go ahead and go straight to pest control and travel away from the Squire here. This will take us back to Port Sarim after we watch the little boat float through here. And we're going to be able to travel to Zeah via the southernmost dock here, past the trader crew members. Veos will take us there. Now you can't talk to the Veos here on Port Sarim docks either. You want to go to Piscarilius' house and talk to him once you've arrived out on the docks here. So if you talk to Veos, he asks what he can do for you. You can ask if he's heard of Camorra. You go through a little bit and he tells you that you should probably go to the Archaeus library. This is where if you have a fairy ring with CIS unlocked, you can go straight there. It's a little bit faster than running through from Piscarilius up there. So most conveniently you can come to here. Well, you can go to wherever you can find your fairy ring if you have it unlocked, go to CIS. Otherwise you can just run northwest or use a Xeric's Amulet teleport to get closer to here. But now we're just north of the library, so we go down to the library. We need to get into the library archive for this section of the quest. So once you're inside the actual library, you're going to go over here to Archaeo on the western side of the center of the library, and he asks if you'd like to visit the historical archive because they recently opened it to visitors. So you just want to, all aboard, yes please. And when you get there, you want to talk to Morytania. She is the horologist. You ask her if she's heard of Camorra. She says she can't say that she's heard of her, but she knows someone who might be able to. Camorra is related to Shazian, so she says we should go ask someone from Shazian about it. So in this case, you can go teleport to Xeric's Lookout with your talisman. Otherwise, you have to run to Shazian House, which is on the western side of Zeah. And from here, we're going to go to this house just south of the bank right here, where you can see my mouse. So we're going to run through there. Feel free to pop a stamina if you have one. You're going to need a little bit extra energy. I'm also going to go ahead and eat an anglerfish to get over max XP, or HP, because I'll need the inventory space anyway. So just kind of something I'm used to doing. So once we get here to this house I mentioned south of the bank, right here, this big house on the western side of this little area, we're going to see Amelia. So if you talk to Amelia and you ask about Camorra, you mentioned who she is. She's never heard of her, but they could go into the Shazian crypts to find out. So she recommends you travel down there. The Shazian crypts are nearby, right here where you see this dungeon marking to the southwest of my current position. Before we go into the crypt though, we're going to go stop by the bank just a couple steps north to make sure we get that light source I mentioned earlier. So in my case, I'm going to grab the bullseye lantern that I have. And you know, you can use whatever light source, but bullseye lantern is always a good old reliable. And then we're going to head down into the crypt. So at this point, you're going to drop down there and run through this graveyard. And as we travel further south, we'll see this building with a crypt entrance. So you can just go inside here. And we're down in a dungeon full of zombies and I believe skeletons as well. These guys are pretty high level and can hit pretty hard, but for the most part you can just run straight through them. So you want to run directly east across this big dungeon, across the crypt. You'll take some damage here and there, just make sure you keep your health high. Not any huge threats though. And once you get to the far side, just keep running and take a north to climb down this first ladder. So as we go down here, we're going to see some stairs just on the north of our mini-map. Head up here, go north, and here when there are two sets of stairs, just go east over here to these ones. The west ones work fine as well, but they just take you on the opposite side. Here you go. At this point, you want to come out, take a quick west, and then continue heading south. You'll see this big rift with a broken area and some large doors that you can't open. But here, where you see these people on my mini-map, is the puzzle room, which is Comora's crypt that we were looking for in the first place. So here, if you inspect the tomb, it'll tell you, here lies Khemora Shazian, founder of Shazian House. Make sure you have a spare inventory space, because it tells you inspect the inscription on the tomb, and the plaque is loose. So you remove it, and you see a second inscription. Now this second inscription is going to be a riddle that you have to solve to obtain the key piece that's hidden in this coffin. Basically, there are 4 heroes that we saw earlier fighting the Dragonkin: Robert, Khemora, Tristan, and Avis. It tells you various clues about them, and you have to position them based on those clues around what is basically the table from the riddle. So you have 4 plinths with 4 busts, and you need to position the busts properly on the 4 plinths to make the tomb open. This riddle is different for everyone, so I can't just give you all the answer, but what I can do is show you the information about each hero that I mentioned earlier that I said was going to be relevant. So you want to make a little bit of inventory space and grab the 4 busts. Then you want to look at your riddle. So for me, Robert came from the town of Arkney and sat next to the one with a sword. The one from Carville sat at the north of the table, opposite the one with the crossbow. The one with the bow asked the one to their right what the journey from Zartharim was like. Suddenly, Tristan stood up, surprising the one from Seranthium on his left. Avis was showing off his crossbow when the axe wielder next to him called for silence. By the end of the night, the plan had been made. They prepared for the wars to come, but who sat where? So again, they're sitting around a table in north, south, east, west positions, and you have to arrange their busts in those same positions. The information that I mentioned, I'm going to flash on screen real quick. We've learned throughout the quest, through some of the lore, which weapon each adventurer uses and which town they're from. So for here, in my case, we know some specific information that'll help us a lot. My riddle, I'm going to go ahead and close this real quick so you can see. My riddle says the one from Carville sat at the north of the table. So for me, Tristan is from Carville, so I know that Tristan is the one to the north of the table. Very simple, so I can put him on the northern plinth. Then I have another, let me read this real quick. I have another very easy one because it says the one from Carville sat at the north of the table, and we know that's Tristan, opposite the one with the crossbow. So using the information we learned earlier, we know that Avis uses a crossbow. So Avis is across from him, down in the south. So you can use Avis's bust on the southern plinth. Now, my next bit is suddenly Tristan stood up, surprising the one from Seranthium on his left. So Tristan, we know, is at the head of the table. So the one on his left would be the eastern plinth. And we know from our information that Khemora is from Seranthium. So Khemora goes on this plinth for me, and that leaves Robert on the western plinth. And you hear it click as you get the puzzle right. You could just brute force this if you really wanted to, but I think solving the riddle is a bit simpler and easier. Go ahead and close the information again. And at that point, you can search the tomb and find your 3rd dragon key piece, leaving only 1 more as we go to put it in the bank. With Khemora's key piece safe in the bank, we only have Tristan's, our 4th and final piece, to gather. The quest guide and Bob earlier, from his memories, said that the piece is potentially somewhere near Varrock and involves the Varrock library. In this case, we're going to need a few items, so go ahead and get in your bank and pull out the following. The spade. We're going to be using a locator crystal, and we have to dig at the location when we finally find where we're going. We're going to need 2 molten glass. Oops, excuse me, can't type. 2 molten glass, the glass blowing pipe, our cut dragon stone, and our Ghost Speak amulet. Also, if you have an ecto file, feel free to get that out because we'll be traveling to Port Phasmatis. So it's good. We also need to go to Draenor Manor. So if you have a Charged Glory, again, I'm using my house tabs, then you can go ahead and use that to get there. So we're going to go ahead and travel to Varrock. For me, just use the Varrock tab. And we're going to go to the library. Once we reach the Varrock Palace, just go around back to the library and talk to Reldo, the librarian. You're just going to ask about Tristan. He does know about Tristan, and he says there are census records. So you want this little red book you can see in the top right of this bookshelf. You get it, and it says maybe Reldo can read it for you instead. So you just ask about Tristan once again, and Reldo will read it. He'll mention that they left Mistalin. So if you look at your quest guide, it'll tell you that they're part of a group of settlers that formed Port Phasmatis. So you want to pop your ecto file and get to Port Phas, throw on your Ghost Speak amulet, and go through the energy barrier. Here, if you stop off and talk to a ghost villager, not one of the protesters, tell you Sarah Corvo lives in the house next to the bank, so you can go straight there and find her. So just past the range, the house with the range, rather, has Sarah in it. This is Sarah Corvo, who is one of Tristan's ancestors. So the key is gone, she says, and it's buried. But it's a strange red metal. And because Ava helped you in the past to attract a metal object, she can help you again this time. And we're going to need to make our own special item with this molten glass, dragonstone, glass blowing pipe, etc. So we're going to travel to Draenor and make our way to the manor to find Ava. So once in the manor, we just talk to Ava, and you say you need her help with a key piece. She's kind of confused, but you let her know what you're talking about. She says it should be doable, and it's made of orichalcum, which is dragon. So the key is actually made of dragon material. She says get a cut dragonstone, 2 molten glass, use a glass blowing pipe to craft a glass orb with the dragonstone in the center. Bring it to her. So if you have the items on you, you can just craft the locator orb right away. And if you say you need help again, she'll turn it from an inert locator orb into a full-fledged locator orb. So now, if you have some food left over, you could probably go straight there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get some brews, because what we're going to do is use this locator orb throughout Mortmire Swamp to find the location we need to dig to get this last key piece. So what I'm going to do is store some of these anglerfish and get some brews and just jog around the swamp till I find it. This location is different for everyone, so there are probably a few common shared locations, but as far as I'm aware, not few enough that it would be viable to just chase after someone else's location and hope you find it. So here, with a huge amount of brews, I'm going to go to Mortmire. I'm going to do this using the fairy ring because it's a pretty good way to get there. There are plenty of other ways to do it though, so feel free to choose your preferred method to get to Mortmire. And whenever you're there, you can start to just use the locator orb. It'll damage you probably 8 to 10 per use, and you just have to follow its directionality until you finally find the spot. I believe you need to be standing on the exact spot for this, so it will probably deal a lot of damage to you over time, and you don't want to you don't want to under prepare and not bring enough food. But see, southwest just went to northeast, so it's likely my spot is just right around here somewhere. Again, pulls to the northeast, pulls to the north, northeast, north, so we're very close. There you go, the orb is visibly shaking and burns to the touch. So at that point you can dig, and there you go. Wherever your piece is visibly shaking and burns to the touch is where you will find your last dragon key piece. So at this point we have all 4 pieces. We're going to go to the bank, gather them all out, and grab a couple of other items. So just, for me, that'll be Castle Wars. At this point we need to forge the dragon key. We have all those pieces, we just need to finish up and forge it. So we're going to take these 4 pieces that we've gotten out from here. See where I stored them. There we go. And we're also going to get this ancient key out of the bank. So this thing's just been sitting there since we got it near the very beginning. But if you examine it, you'll see it is a strange key that seems to be made out of various metals. But then it says including mithril. The reason they mention that specifically is because we are finally going to be going through the mithril door in the ancient caverns near the barbarian outpost. We've had no use for it whatsoever since the beginning of Old School, but they gave it one with this quest, which is pretty exciting. It's an interesting addition to the game. But anyway, we're going to need this key. We can store the locator orb in our ecto file, drop any rotten food you might have. So you're going to grab your key pieces, your ancient key. We're going to need a hammer, and we're going to need our fire waves that we mentioned earlier. So blood, air, and fire runes. And it's not a bad idea to bring just a sip of anti-fire because you will be running past myth dragons and stuff. Bring some food, whatever you really want. Just make sure you can survive being attacked by a couple of brutal green dragons and mithril dragons, and go ahead and go out to Barbarian Outpost. So using a games necklace or the jewelry box in your house if you have a games necklace inside. And you're going to want to head south off the dock into the waterfall. So I'll talk to you once I get inside. Okay, so in here, I'm gonna just take a sip of anti-fire and pray mage against the brutal black, or I don't know why I keep saying that, brutal green dragon attacks. Go up the stairs here, just to the southeast of the entrance. If you had auto retaliate on, turn it off. Then go west once you see the mithril dragons, and there's a small red door on the map. This is the mysterious mithril door, and now that we have the key for it, the key slides easily in and we can go inside. We end up in a dark room with a giant orb and 3 dragon heads. You have to light the dragon heads, and you do so using fire wave. So one at a time, just light the 3 dragon heads. And at that point it tells you hear a mechanical sound nearby. The sound moves slowly away to the south as some hidden apparatus is set in motion. So at that point you want to leave through the mithril door once again and go back down the stairs here. If you played the game pre-EOC and used to do Slayer with the Kurdal Master, you could find her in the same location. You have to go here. So if you travel southwest from the stairs, you'll see another pair of stairs that leads you upwards, and this is the location the old Slayer Master would have been pre-EOC. Farther south, though, you can see a trail of lava running towards this gigantic dragon forge, which looks pretty awesome, too. Very impressed with some of the artwork from Jagex during this quest. Anyway, you go click on Smith Anvil, and you will successfully remake your key. At this point, this key unlocks the door back in Lithkren, so we're going to go ahead and bank once again to switch up our supplies and move along. Here at the bank, you can store any of your combat-related, food-related, that sort of thing items. You won't be doing any fighting for a little bit. If it makes you feel better, you can bring some food. But we're going to be mainly traveling around the game, trying to make contact with certain NPCs to recruit them for our cause, basically. That's going to be a little bit from now, but it'll be good to get a telly to Ardoin, a telly to Falador, a telly to Rellekka, and a telly to Varrock. Or actually, you'll need 2 tellies to Varrock. So I've got my Rellekka, my Ardy, my Fally, and I'll need 2 teleports to Varrock as well. I actually am out of tabs, so I'm just going to bring some runes, but, you know, whatever method you want to use for that. And at this point, we need to make our way back to Fossil Island, because we're traveling to Lithkren, that place we rowed our boat to at the beginning of the quest. So you want to get all the way back there. I don't have a dig site pendant, so I'm going to cut the video here, and I will see you all when you are there as well. Here we are back at the boat. We're just going to travel Jardrick. We go to the expedition camp. We're just going to trace our steps all the way back to when we first found Avis's diary with the skeleton in the giant room with the door. Dallas will be waiting for us there still, and now we have the dragon key so we can get inside. Climb up the big stairs right here. Go south to the trap door. Go in. Continue north down all the stairs. And here's Dallas and Bob the cat as well. So now we can use our dragon key on the grandiose doors, and of course it fits perfectly inside. And we're in. This is the location of adamant and rune dragons after the quest, I believe, as well, on either side of here, but we can't currently pass the barrier. You just want to continue traveling straight north, and you'll see that Dallas and Bob are here, staring at a gigantic dragon here, lurking below the surface. It seems to be sleeping. So if you talk to Dallas, say you need to leave right now, but this cutscene will cut you off. So here we see the first dragonkin in a very long time, and Bob actually remembers him, Zorgoth. So this must have been someone that he met or fought with before he was turned into a cat. Or reincarnated as a cat, I suppose. Listen to the truth about Elvarg. We find out that Elvarg was a dragon made in a lab, but to the dragonkin she meant nothing because she wasn't even powerful. So here, some of the dragonkin attacked humanity and wanted to wipe them out, and as a result, Robert and his fellow adventurers tried to wipe out all the dragonkin because they assumed they were all guilty. And as a result, they want revenge now. Zorgoth specifically wants revenge. And then you get that excellent little cutscene of carrying Bob out from the falling building. Jardrick is here too. And you'll see that Jardrick actually harmed Galvek, which in turn harmed Zorgoth, which is all very important. Okay, through the end of the cutscene, Jardrick and Bob are here. R.I.P. Dallas. So now you need to start trying to recruit various world leaders. You're going to start off with... Oh, I forgot I was on regular spellbook already. I brought spellbook swap runes. But you want to go to Varrock, and you want to talk to King Roald and ask him about helping, because now this threat has become too severe to ignore. So here in Varrock, you ask about the dragon threat. And he mentions that Zorgoth apparently has the power, or you mentioned that Zorgoth apparently has the power to control all dragons at once and make them do his bidding. And of course, he does the Dragonkins' will, and they want to kill all humans. So, at this point, he says you need to get the help of other kings as well. So you need to go to Artie and get King Lathis' help. You're also going to need to go to Falador and Rellekka, as I mentioned before. So hopefully you still have your teleports on you, and you can just conveniently travel to all 3 locations. So I'm going to go ahead and do that in fast time, and you all can feel free to accomplish it and then either pause or skip forward depending on the speed. Catch up with me once I have talked to all the leaders. Afterwards as well, you'll want to return to Varrock for a big conference, so that's where I'll be. Sorry about that. Went to Varrock a little too early. Still got to get Chieftain Brunt. So Lathis has agreed to ally with Varrock. He thought it was interesting and wanted to help. And Ceramic didn't even realize that Dragonkin were still on the Earth. So So the Fremnik have agreed to even attend the meeting and of course fight alongside Outerlanders to help save the world from the Dragonkin threat. So you want to return to Varrock here and run back into the castle where a meeting has been arranged between all of these leaders as well as some others who you didn't personally contact but have agreed to help. Bob is here as well. But you just go through the door into this room and the conference begins. You can see the Aniromancer from Lunars is here, King Arthur is here, Denulf is here, Duke Horatio, the Advisor, King Roald, Certification and Eremic Vars, King Lathis, Brunt, and of course Bob, Jardrick, and Kietes, the giant, or the warrior from the Warriors Guild. It's a good plan to go out and fight them on the ships, and Bob wants a word outside. So we need to talk about Zorgoth. He says Dragonkin are not very easy to kill, but he saw that Jardrick fired a crossbow at Galvek, and when Galvek took damage, Zorgoth did as well. So to kill Zorgoth, we have to kill Galvek, that dragon we saw in the pool originally. Alright, so here we are. It's time for the series that leads up to the final battle. We're going to need to go through Torfin at the Rellekka docks, but of course first we're going to need to gear up a bit. So feel free to go to a bank and get ready for a huge fight. Here I would recommend just using the range gear that I had before, right here with the diamond bolts. Ruby could be viable. I think if you have a weaker crossbow, you might want to try Ruby as well against the boss, but if you have a strong crossbow like Dragon Hunter, I wouldn't be too worried. So I would bring a stamina potion, a super or a extended anti-fire here. Be good to get a 4-dose, although you shouldn't need it. A ranging potion. If you have a range setup, you could also use melee, and if so, of course, bring a super combat, excuse me. Bring a few restorers and a few brews. Also, you want to make sure you have 4 empty inventory spots right now. You're going to be doing some ship repairing as we go, and that requires having 4 inventory spots to clear that specific challenge. And you can just bring a little bit of food. This first section, what we're going to do is we're going to clear the entire set of dragons all the way up until we get to the boss fight, and when we arrive to the boss, we're going to teleport out and re-gear. Not potentially necessary, but worth doing in my opinion. So once you have decent gear, like what I have right here, you can go ahead and set up teleportation to Rellekka once more for the final boss. Well, for the final sequence. This guy's poisoned. Alright, so feel free to pop a stamina dose here too. We're going to want a stamina for the final boss, but again, we're going to teleport out before we have to fight the final. So, you can right click, travel on Torvin. He says travel to the feet. Yes. So it's worth noting here that if you die at any point during this, if you are a hardcore Iron Man, you will lose your status. It is an actual death. Even though you don't lose your items, you can come back and pay to collect them. You will lose your hardcore Iron Man status. But for all other accounts, if you die again, you can pay 100k to, retrieve any items that you lost. Here you go, the fleet travels out, and we're being attacked by dragons. This is what we need those inventory spaces for. If you have inventory spaces when you come in, you automatically get all these supplies to defend the boat. So what happens is the dragons will attack the boat with 3 dragon fire attacks at once, and those all have one effect on something on the boat. So you have to rush to whatever is affected and fix it, whether it be healing a warrior, putting out a fire, or fixing a leak. You have all the things that you can fix. So repair masts, you can repair holes that spring water, and you can repair you can heal soldiers as well. So here, fix the leak, douse the fire, and actually it's getting more severe as time goes on. So at first it was 1 fire, now it's 2, and later on in the fight we'll have to deal with 3 attacks at once. Right now it's just 2. So again, if you're paying attention and you have inventory spaces ahead of time, this is going to be really easy to deal with, and you'll just kind of casually go through the fight. I think I'll speed this one up as it goes as well. Just make sure that you're attending to all the Fremnik warriors as well. If they need healing, you can look at them and they don't row like they're supposed to. See this guy right here? He was just hit and he's kind of like leaning over, not rowing. And that's how you can tell he needs to be healed. Just watch all 3 attacks and make sure that you address them. So see here, another guy to heal. And we're back. If you're attentive, you can keep your ship integrity very, very high and have absolutely no problem with this whole challenge. And actually, I'll go ahead and just do this in real time because you all will have to as well. So if you want to just watch it out, that's fine. Otherwise, you can skip to the end and continue on afterwards. For me, time's already more than half gone, and I've only lost about 1/4 of ship integrity, so should be a very easy challenge. It's also worth noting that the water container never runs out, so you don't need to worry about that. You just need to continue to be actively using it. You never need to refill it or replace it. You can just continue it. So this guy's injured again. And again, they're up to 3 attacks, so you may not have to deal with 3, and it appears that the more healthy the ship is, the less likely you are to get attacked heavily, actually, from what I can tell. So there's an extra benefit to keeping your ship on high integrity. Looks like everything is going really well with just a few seconds left. So yeah, as the time goes on, you start to take a little more, a few more attacks, like at increased frequencies. But again, if you make it through with any ship integrity bar left, you're good, and you move on through the cutscene. You can see the island. We're almost there. So Koshi the Deathless says, time to wake up. We have some dragons to slay. They destroyed the whole fleet before we could even get to the island, so you have to salvage what you can and do your best. So what's coming up is a sequence of just fighting a lot of various dragons as you explore the wreckage of the ships. So you're going to be doing agility obstacles, jumping between gaps, climbing along wreckage, that sort of thing, as you explore what happened to the fleet. So again, you just kind of follow the natural progression of the debris in the ships, and you'll get all the way there. This I am going to speed up. First, though, I'll tell you, if you fail an obstacle, you only fall back to the previous obstacle. You don't have to redo a lot. And if you do teleport or leave, you don't have to do the cutscene again, or the 4-minute ship defense again. You will start at the beginning of the obstacles, so it's not too bad if you do get a failure. But see, here you go, there's a green dragon. So they now have the ability to be ranged, so you just kind of have to tank some of their attacks, which is why we have a fair bit of food, even though we won't be doing too much fighting. But anyway, as you progress, you just continue to make your way through the fleet. You have to kill a few dragons. There's some dragons on board a few ships, like this one, this red dragon. And you can go ahead and pot up, participate, help out a little bit. Really, like I said, we're going to tell you out before the boss fight, so we don't really need to worry too much about how much damage we take. But you'll take a little bit, and of course you just heal it up and continue on your way as you go. Funny little tidbit on this next ship, Jagex actually put a giant fire right here that was impassable, so you couldn't actually continue the quest because, like I said, they put a giant fire there. Anyway, afterwards you can climb up the mast. This one's maybe not quite as logical of a progression, but yeah, you climb up the mast and move along to the next spot. So here we run into an iron dragon. Again, it kind of seems like the dragons are getting progressively a bit stronger, but of course if you have a range pot, rigor, and good range gear, you'll absolutely shred through it. And even if you don't, some of the heroes will tank attacks for you anyway, so you don't need to worry too much about it. You just need to help damage. So again, thanks for the help. You should keep going. You can see all these ships, the whole fleet has just been completely destroyed. All these big ships where you can see the big like brown ship on the map rather than the small skinny one are going to have some sort of battle on them, so you can know going up that you should be ready to fight. So here's a brutal green dragon, and remember with brutal dragons, if you're tanking them, you do want to be praying mage for the most part, because that will mitigate all damage if you have an anti-fire and a shield running. Again, don't let us hold you up. You got to keep on moving after winning each fight. Also, it might seem like I'm falling a fair bit, but I do only have 75 agility. So if you have 80 plus, 90 plus, you're a lot less likely to fall in these sort of obstacles too. You can see all these dead paladins, dead barbarians, dead everybody. Everybody's dead except you and the other heroes, basically. Oh, also, I said Achietes was from the Warriors Guild, but no, that's from the Heroes Guild. Here at last, we've got a big old fight here. Gotta climb over the debris. Got ourselves in quite a situation. Could try to save some of the guards too. They're under a lot of pressure. But yeah, so these here are just regular dragons. So you could even just stand in the middle, tank them, and melee prey. Shouldn't have any trouble at all with them. And if you really want to be friendly, you can tag them all off the guards, save the day. These guys don't even have any ranged attacks or anything. They just have regular melee and fire, so... Oh no! My guards! Unfortunately, you may not be able to save them, but you could try. So you just need to clear off all the dragons here, though. So once you've cleared off all the dragons, you'll start to face progressively harder and harder monsters. You just have to be ready for it. And again, remember that before the boss shows up, the final boss, that is, Galvek, before we actually have to fight them, we will be tallying out. So, again, you just watch him murder your poor comrades. And there's Zorgoth, of course, with Galvek. Okay, so now, Galvek, first of all, RIP Bob. Second of all, Galvek has an attack that he will use throughout this next sequence that you need to be very careful of. If this attack hits you, it can completely one-shot you at any time. and it can't be protected from or anything. So what you should do now is run towards Galvek, and anytime you see him spread his claws wide, it'll show that he's about to use his powerful attack, and you need to move from the squares you're standing on. Try to move at least 2 squares away. So here, we're going to wait, and we're going to see he did that thing where he put his claws out and then like kind of flexed. That shows that he's going to use his powerful attack, so you just want to back off. So anytime you see him kind of flex, you just want to be ready to move all the time. Again, here's a steel dragon now. Want to make sure you have your anti-fire potion. And again, we saw him flex, so we move away. This is where, if you're like a hardcore Iron Man or something, if you miss a single one of these, you're going to die, and there goes your status. If you're a main, the risk's a lot lower, because of course you just lose whatever's on you, and then you get to buy it back for 100k, so not a big deal. But if the stakes are high for you dying here, you want to be very, very attentive and always make sure that you watch when Galvek opens his arms and gets ready for that special overhead attack. See? So you did it again, just move a couple steps away, and you're good. So again, if you got good gear and rigor and everything, you'll just shred through these dragons. Brutal red. I'm gonna go ahead and pray mage. Okay, Galvek's special attack again. Also, the special attack doesn't happen right when he moves his arms. It happens a little bit later. So you want to make sure that you're moving for long enough to avoid the attack. So if I were you, I would move all the way until the attack has landed, because that'll just make sure that you never ever get hit by it. And again, you don't even need like energy or anything. You can just kind of hang out, walk around, kill a couple dragons. It's not a big deal. The real challenge is coming up with the Galvek fight, of course. Okay, with that last hit, Brutal Red's gonna fall, and we're gonna get another cutscene. Why do you persist? Can't you see you've already lost? But here comes the cavalry. It turns out that all those people that you helped on your way through are all here to help you now, so these myth dragons and anything else aren't as powerful, and you get a little bit of help killing them all, which is very nice. Again, right as the cutscene ends though, be sure that you're ready to move, as always. Probably a good idea to pray ranged if you have very good melee defense, or if you have very good mage defense with your Armadillo, or even Dragonhide. Stay out of melee range, of course, because they can hit very hard with melee. Again, arm attack, make sure you're always moving away from it. And I like to move back afterwards too, just so I can see it a little better and make sure that I'm not going to get hit by the next one. So here you go, in just a couple seconds, we're going to get another arm attack. There we go. Gotta move, make sure we don't get hit. No problem. You can see the other heroes that are helping you actually do hit pretty decently. Nothing too high, but pretty consistent, like 8s and 9s and stuff. Again, just make sure you're always moving. Oh, a bit of lag there. Uh-oh. Okay, well, if you're a hardcore Iron Man, good luck. And try not to play when there's any lag at all, because that's kind of terrifying. It scared me, and I'm barely risking anything. Okay, there's another falling attack. Mithril Dragon's just about dead, and that will do it. Now we've got the Adamant Dragon. So here, Adamant and Rune Dragons are relatively powerful. So what you might want to do if you don't have a ton of food left is you can actually just get your warriors to work for you. So if you ever stand under these dragons, do make sure that you dodge Galvek's attacks. You continue to dodge Galvek's attacks. But what you can do is actually trap them in the corners like this and just let your warriors work for you. I'm going to hit once in a while because I have enough health that I'm not too worried about it, and we're going to teleport out after this. But they can help you out quite a bit, your teammates. Also, as far as I'm aware, the falling attack from Galvek can't hit your teammates, so if you do walk under them at an inopportune time, they shouldn't die or anything. Okay, here comes another falling attack. And again, if you need to re-anti-fire, go for it. That poison attack there that you see, it venoms you if you don't have a Serp Helm and does double damage as well if you're not anti-venomed. So it's another good reason to bring a Serp Helm if you're going to actually fight the Adamant Dragon. And there it goes. Another challenger approaches, the Runite Dragon now. Rune Dragon, I guess, not Runite, but again, pretty powerful. It has a couple of special attacks, like it has an Onyx Bolt equivalent attack where it heals whatever it damages you. It's pretty powerful. It can hit through prayer as well because it's a typeless attack. But again, if you have good stats and gear, you should have plenty of stuff left and you can just kind of hit it. And if you are low on supplies and trying to just get to the boss fight, then I would recommend just standing underneath it and getting it to the side and letting your team do some work on it, because that'll work just fine. That electric attack you want to move away from as well. Looks like a static electricity thing, and if it lands near you, it can hit you. So again, always remember to keep moving during the fight, because Galvek will be throwing bolts that can kill you the entire time. So you ready? There's another arm one. Gotta dodge the falling attack. Rune Dragon's pretty tanky, but not too bad to deal with. Again, always watching Galvek's arms to make sure that he's not going to kill us. Okay, and with that last hit, there goes the Rune Dragon. We're in for another cutscene. Alright, so here they brought in 2 Brutal Black Dragons, but your team has your back. So you gotta show the dragon what for. Here, I've yet to explain the mechanics, and of course your supplies and my supplies will probably be relatively low. So what we're gonna do is, now that the boss fight itself has actually started, we can go ahead and just leave. So we're gonna teleport out here. Safe and sound. Plenty of supplies, all that good stuff. If you want to try to fight Galvek, you can. But again, this way we can just fully resupply and make sure we're in plenty good shape to kill it in our first try the next time. So I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to stop the video because I've been on one clip for 26 minutes. And I'll come back and just give you a quick rundown on Galvek and how you can beat him pretty simply and avoid all his very dangerous attacks. So at this point we've teleported out during the Galvek fight, which lets us go straight back and fight him right away without any ship climbing, rune dragon killing, anything like that. As a result, all we have to do is gear and prepare for him, and that is going to be the last major hurdle in this quest. Basically, Galvek is 3 or 4 times stronger than he was during the fights with the other dragons, because then all he had was that meteor attack that could one-shot you if you stood still too long. In this fight, he has that attack, but he also has 2 more very, very powerful attacks and pretty strong basic attacks as well. So for the 2 other powerful attacks, he has a sort of mine attack where he calls down these red and orange spiky things from the sky and they land on the deck. If you run into them or if they land on you, you explode for maximum damage, I think, and I've seen plenty of people get KO'd for 90 plus by these things. So what I recommend you do is, if you stand directly in front of the boss during the fire phase, only like on the square directly in front of him, and move north and south only to dodge the meteor attack, you should stay safe completely from the bombs every time, because they always spawn in the same place. Later on though, in the water phase, you also can get hit with a tsunami attack, where he pulls up a line of waves that crash across the boat over time, kind of like the lightning attack at Ulm, or if you ever tried Queen Black Dragon pre-EOC, exactly like the firewall attack there, although it's just 1 tsunami wave, not 3. And that, if it hits you and you don't make it to the 1 square that's safe, can deal, I believe, high 60s or higher damage. So again, a third very dangerous attack. And they pretty much all revolve around just making sure you don't run to the wrong place at the wrong time, or stand still in the wrong place at the wrong time. Otherwise, you just kind of pray ranged and do your best to tank through the rest of the fight. So for this, I think it shouldn't be too difficult as long as you can dodge the very powerful attacks. So you want to keep your max ranged gear, of course. I'd recommend keeping the Serp Helm on as well. Then all you're going to need is a ranging potion, a stamina potion, and an extended anti-fire potion. If you really want, and actually I'm going to go ahead and do this, you might as well bring 2 ranging potions, so if you do a lot of brewing up, you'll be able to continue to boost your range level back up rather than be brewed down. I'd say I'd bring 2 ranging potions, an extended anti-fire, a stamina, 10 brews, 6 restores, a teleport out, especially if you're a hardcore Iron Man. I would absolutely bring one. Although, to be fair, you could die before you have the chance to react. And a teleport back to Rellekka to get to the fight. Also, while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and angler up, just to be at the highest HP possible before going into the fight. So I'm going to teleport to Rellekka, run back to the dock, and get the fight started. I am back here at Torfin, ready to go out for the fight. Before I do so, I just wanted to mention something that I forgot, which was that Galvek has several attacks that mirror Vorkath's attacks. Not sure if they're more powerful, but they have the same effects like disabling prayer and venoming. So again, we have the Serp Helm for venom, and I would recommend having ranged prayer and rigor as your quick prayers. So if you get your prayer disabled, you can just get those on as quickly as possible again. Otherwise, just be ready to turn them back on. So here we go. We're going to travel to Torfin, and because we tellied out during the boss battle, it's the same as if you die during the boss battle, you get to go straight back to it, which is perfect. So he starts out with a mage attack, pretty powerful, can hit 22s. Fire attack as well, that's why we have the anti-fire shield. So here you just kind of hang out and fight him. Make sure you keep your HP up pretty high. He has a lot of very dangerous attacks. It's probably better to be just at 99 range. There's a prayer disabler. Better to just be at 99 range and high HP than worried too much about keeping your range potted, because you'll hit eventually, just kind of an outlast sort of thing. So here's an attack. Something's falling. See, that's the... It's a good thing I moved. That was the falling meteor attack that can one-shot you if it hits you. So you just got to kind of watch his body, see what he does. If he does a weird arm attack like that, you want to move and see these bombs explode and hit really high, so you want to make sure you're not standing on or in one of them. And he can also do it in conjunction with the meteor attack like he just did. So if you stay still during this time and hit these fire traps, they can one-shot you. Or if you run into the fire traps, they can one-shot you, but if you stand still, you can die to the meteor attack. He also has a blue attack that teleports you right next to him, and then he can melee you. I'm not sure how strong his melee attack is, but I would assume it can hit pretty darn high. Although I doubt it's a one-shot. So here you go, just kind of hang out and attack him. It's another prayer disable attack. You want to make sure you do it. Eventually the bombs will go away, so when they do, you just want to dodge them. And as far as I can tell, it appears the bombs always land in the same location. If there's another bomb attack, I'll confirm that, and I'll add it in before the fight to make sure that people, especially like hardcore Iron Men, know that that's the case, because we definitely don't want to be getting anyone caught off guard by that. And I'd feel pretty bad if someone was using my guide and wasn't expecting it. So I'll make sure I check that out. See, again, you just stay away from the fire traps. If you make contact with them, they can destroy you. So now the dragon embodies the element of wind, and he's over here flying on the side of the ship. I believe now he can use the tsunami attack as well. So you want to watch out, and if you see in the chat box something about a tsunami, be ready for the wall of waves to sweep across the ship, and you'll have to think on your feet and be able to jump into whichever square they're not covering. I believe during this fight he doesn't have the bomb attack anymore. There's a wind attack that says you feel drained. He lowers your stats. When that happens, feel free to brew all the way up, because then you can restore all the way and repot. See, he still does that falling meteor attack that can one-shot you, so you have to keep watching his arms, make sure you know when he's doing it. See, the Dragon Hunter crossbow with diamond bolts cuts through him pretty well, hitting quite well overall. And again, see, he keeps draining me. There's the meteor attack again. Draining again. It's actually pretty frustrating. But see, that's why we bring the stamina, because when we're going to run from the tsunamis later, we want to make sure that we have all the energy we need to get away. Okay, and again, make sure you keep your health pretty high. just in case you don't want to get caught off guard by something like the tsunami attack. And now he embodies the element of water, so this is the one where we're going to have to worry about that tsunami attack. You just always want to be ready for it, because if you see a line about the tsunami and he still does the... See, there you go. The tsunami attack, and he also does the falling meteor attack in conjunction with it sometimes. So not only do you have to go through the wall of the tsunami, but you have to make sure that you don't stop in one place because the tsunami will catch you out, or the meteor will land on your head while you're trying to dodge the tsunami. So make sure when you dodge the tsunami that you run through it rather than stand still in a spot in the open, because he will hit you with a falling meteor attack if you do that. And again, here's another meteor. Okay, so here's a tsunami, but if I stand still, the meteor that follows will hit me because he likes to combo the tsunami and the meteor, see? So had I been standing still where the tsunami went, I would have potentially died there pretty easily. And again, another tsunami attack, and he's probably going to combine it with a meteor. So you want to get into the gap where there's no tsunami and dodge the meteor. You never really want to be standing still, which is why I recommend bringing a stamina for this fight, because he's always got these meteors going and everything. Down to 366 HP, really no trouble yet. Another meteor attack, and again, see another tsunami. So meteor is going to immediately follow, and if you're standing still, you get caught out and die. So always be on the move during the tsunami, never stand still in the gap. He's really enjoying shooting out these meteor attacks. Okay, element of earth. So now he is within melee range very obviously, and he throws these rocks at you. I have not seen anyone get hit by them, but knowing that the tsunami can hit at least 60s and the fireball meteor can hit at least 99s, I would definitely make sure that I was not in the way of those rocks. And again, you should have enough doses of stamina still to always be moving at least a couple steps away. You shouldn't even have to run, you could just constantly be walking, but either way, really. Just kind of keep up, fight the same way. Always remember to dodge when you see the arms and the meteor attack come up. For me, he's only got 67 HP, so should just be able to continue dodging the rocks, dodging any meteor attacks. 20 HP, and there we go. That is it. Galvek has died, and boom, Zorgoth 1500 HP. Down as well, because remember we learned that killing Galvek would kill him. It worked as intended. And everybody's happy. Except for all the dead people. But, you know, whatever. Myth skill though, am I right? And Bob, R.I.P. Here lies Bob, a hero and a friend. That's actually kind of depressing. Looks like she'd rather be able to... That's so sad! Alright, well, unfortunately, Bob the cat has died, / Robert the Strong. But that is going to be the end. We saved Gielinor. We defeated Galvek and Zorgoth by proxy. And we just need to return to the Mist Guild to claim our reward. So the fastest way is if you have a spirit tree in your house, you could go straight to Feldip Hills. Otherwise, again, Castle Wars, Gnome Glider, Corsair's Cove, all these are good options. But we are done. We've killed Galvek. We are the greatest Dragon Slayer ever. And you can talk to Alec Kincaid once again. Talk about my quest. And he hears you are a hero in their midst. So you tell him all about it. That is the end of Dragon Slayer 2. And you are able to now access the Myths Guild. Excuse me. You're able to kill Vorkath again on that same snowy island by talking to the Fremnik on the dock as well. And you get 25k smithing, 18k mining, 15k agility, and 15k thieving XP, as well as 5 quest points. Congratulations. I hope you enjoyed the quest as much as I did. I hope you enjoyed the guide. I made quite a few mistakes, I know, but I tried to get a pretty good Day Zero guide out for those of you who are really hoping for a video guide. And this is also my first guide in, I think, like 3 years or so. So hopefully it was good enough quality for you all to follow it. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that you like questing just a little bit more now, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching.